The following is a special presentation of the PDF Sports Network.
You know, I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, entertainment, and media. Nick Durst here with Joe Calabrese. Joe, our guest today, he's in sports, he's in entertainment, he's in media. I mean, he's more than a triple threat because he's an athlete, he's an author, he's a commentator, and he's done it all in his career, and we're very excited to have him here with us today.
Yes, one of the most decorated athletes in our country's history, the most recognized male figure skater in the world, U.S. Olympic Hall of Famer, World Figure Skating Hall of Famer. As you alluded to, he's a TV broadcaster, somebody who is a triple threat. He's also a cancer survivor, so that's always important to acknowledge. Special person, humanitarian, and somebody we're very, very fortunate to have on with us today. Really, really appreciate the time he's going to spend with us. Scott Hamilton. Scott, you were chuckling over there in the background.
Wow, so yeah, it's a lot.
Kind of gave it away a little bit, but welcome,
so
welcome
funny,
to You Know I'm Right.
Big introduction for a 5'4" guy. You know, it's just like, okay, that's a lot of appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And again, as Nick alluded to, co-author of multiple books, 3 books. So we'll get to talk to that with that as the podcast goes on. But how are you today?
I'm good. Just running around like crazy. You know, it's summer, so the kids are home from school. I got a late start, so I still have young kids. My daughter's a rising senior. My graduated sons, one is working full-time and the other one is training MMA. And then my youngest son is 14. He's a rising freshman in high school. He's all in, 100% all in hockey. So they've been doing their summer training, and I dropped him off at the rink on the other side of town. Then my wife wanted to look at a house, so we did that. And I'm looking at the clock going, okay, I'm gonna sprint through this house. I'm gonna just run through as fast as I get. And then I'm gonna go over to the rink where I have my academy, where is my office here. And then I'm gonna be late for the podcast. But you know, podcasts, you know, kind of live in, you know, kind of the, you know, outside of time. So, you know, no one's gonna know that I was late except that I just told them.
Does your son have your skating chops?
He's really talented. You know, it's funny because he's always liked skating. He's always liked the ice. My older boy, first son, never really like, not for him. He was more into like team sports. So he kind of started in football, did a lot of flag stuff. Then wanted to play in high school, and then pass. And then he went into basketball, and he loved that. He's a really good athlete, very competitive. Got into the team thing in school and looked around and said, pass. Then he got into soccer, and he was a highlight reel on the soccer field. I mean, he was just so much fun to watch. He had great foot skills, and he would deke everybody, and he loved to, you know, just hit it between their legs and just and all that stuff. And he was really great. I mean, he was a really great soccer player. And then, you know, sort of the school where he was going just didn't have a really strong soccer culture. We're at registration day, and we're looking around, and it's like state champion in football. Grrr, you know, all the years. State champion in basketball. Grrr, state champion in track and field. Grrr, soccer. Nothing. So he goes, that's what I'm up against. So he was, you know, in his last year of high school, he decided that he wanted to prepare himself for the Army because he really wanted to go into special forces and defend our country. And I was really, you know, not my first choice, you know, but then my dad was a biology professor and his son became a figure skater. So I'm sure that wasn't his first choice. So I had to respect that, you know, wherever God wants to put us, he's going to put us. And so he goes, you know, I'm not going to be the biggest guy, so I better learn how to take care of myself. So he started learning how to fight before he, you know, was going to enlist in the Army. And he just started getting into it. Like he got into every other sport, and he just decided, he goes, Dad, I really want to do this. And I feel like I'm really good at it. Well, he's pretty much good at everything. How long is it going to last? Right. And he's been training even during school, like his last year, senior year in high school, he was training 4 hours a day. You know, jujitsu, striking, Muay Thai, the whole thing. He's learning it all the way down, and he's watching other fighters, and he's learning and he's growing and he's learning and he's growing, and he built his body up during COVID like nobody's business. You know, it's kind of, he went from being a really athletic kid to being a specimen, you know. So it's kind of like, oh, you're welcome for the genetics, kidding. But it you know, and it's just sort of like, you know, if he's that all in and if he's that dedicated, I'm not going to dampen his enthusiasm at all. He's, you know, we're just going to support it. So I decided to pause on the Army, and he really wants to pursue this path of, you know, being in MMA fighting and seeing where it takes him. And of course I'm concerned. And then my younger son, my other birth child, is in hockey, where fighting is involved in that. So I'm wondering how my wife, we're very peaceful people, how we created two guys that end up throwing, you know, fists at each other. And yeah, so it's been a real adventure. And then my daughter is a soccer player, and going to be playing high school soccer this year. So we're going to be really busy going to games every weekend and trying to sort out who's going to go to who's and how's and where's and all the other stuff. So it's busy, you know, it's really, and on top of everything else that I do personally, it's really busy. So it's I'm lucky I married a very patient, godly woman, and just she kind of keeps us all together, and you know, life goes on. So it's I never thought at my age now I would be this spread thin, but that's fine too. I mean, you got to do something with your time, right? And so I'm doing a lot with a lot and all over the place, between the foundation and the skating academy and you know, the speaking that I do and everything else, and then, you know, trying to be a father that doesn't raise a child to develop a weapon of mass destruction and use it. You know, it's just like, you know, all that. So it's good. Life's good. It's full. It's busy. It's more than I ever dreamed it would be. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, lots going on for you. Next generation of Hamiltons are just taking things to the next level, and exciting for you, of course. What age did you start figure skating, and how did you get into it?
Well, you know, I was very sick as a child. I was in hospitals, pretty much in, sometimes out, for about 4 years, trying to figure out what was, you know, keeping me from growing and developing. And we finally were sent home from, you know, the biggest, most affluent hospital in the country, Boston Children's. We can't figure out what's wrong. We know there's something wrong. He's not growing, he's not developing, but, you know, best advice we can give you at this point, because this is mid 60s, you know, healthcare was still sort of, you know, practicing medicine more than performing it. It still is, I guess, in many respects. But they sent me home, and our family physician, who was a dear friend, just sort of had an intervention on my parents, saying, you need a day off to recharge your batteries. 4 years of, you know, sleeping in a corner chair in a hospital room has taken its toll, and you need to step into 1 day a week where you just recharge your batteries. And they're like, how are we going to do that? And he said, I wouldn't come with that advice if I didn't have a solution. There's a brand new facility at Bowling Green State University where they teach skating, and they have a hockey team. But on Saturday mornings, they open it up to the community, and they teach children how to skate. My kids are in it. They love it. And I think it'd be a great environment for Scott to re-socialize, you know, with other kids, and just, you know, take on something that gives you guys a moment to breathe. And so I started their Learn to Skate program. I walked in, there's, you know, 120 well kids, and I was like, whoa. I was used to being around sick kids, and, you know, of course, some well kids. I was home quite a bit, but now I was immersed in nothing but well kids, and I was the sick kid. So I was different. And I got on the ice, and yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. And then after a few weeks, I realized that I could skate as well as the well kids. And then after a few more weeks, I realized that I could skate as well as the best athletes in my grade. And for the first time in my life, I had a heap and heaping of self-esteem. And man, that was, man, I just give me more of that. So I just lived at the rink. I just loved it. And the more I skated, the better I got. And you know, I had to get through the teasing. You know, back then there was chain link fence around, not glass. Wow. You know, glass tends to, you know, silence people a little bit because it's like through the glass. Like, I always wonder why people yell at hockey games, because you can't hear it through the glass. so back then it was changing things. So I get the whole, hey, twinkle toes, hey, blah, blah, blah. So, all that peer stuff. So I ended up telling my mom I wanted to play hockey, and she said, no, you're not. I go, yes, I am. She said, no, you're not. Yes, I am. You're too small. You're going to get hurt. I don't care. I'm going to play hockey. So she said, you're a figure skater. I said, yeah, I'm going to stay a figure skater because I think I'm pretty good at that. But I really want to play hockey to shut these guys up because I can skate better than all of them. And she said, well, we'll try it and see, what happens. So I played for 3 seasons or 2 neck braces, whichever your perspective is. I got cream because back then house league allowed for checking and everything else. And I remember my last game, I was in a corner fighting for the puck, and I looked up, and one of my closest friends just had that look in his eye. Like I was like a golf ball on a tee, and he was going to hit me 300 yards. Right. So he just hit me as hard as he could. And I heard a little bit of a pop, and it was my neck, and I just laid down. They got me off the ice, and that was, it said, okay, I'm officially announcing my retirement from hockey. I'll take whatever teasing I get from that. And it was really fun because I played for those 3 seasons. So now I'm 12, and all the hockey guys are starting to notice the figure skating girls in the building. And they realized that I had more access to them than they ever would, right? So the teasing became, hey, can you introduce me to that girl? I'll try, right? I'll do my best. So it's just fun how life, kind of presents all of its junk, and you sort of roll with it. And the way things are today is going to be totally different tomorrow. And as I got more into skating, I realized that I was pretty good regionally. I was average sectionally. And nationally, I was a disaster. So it took me a while to figure things out. But, I had a few life, kind of events that really focused my efforts and allowed me to step into something else.
Yeah, it certainly all worked out for you, but it almost didn't. I mean, you almost quit figure skating in 1976 due to the high cost. How, if at all, has skating become more affordable over the years?
Well, I don't know that it has. I was lucky and lucky. I give all glory to God, for all the great things that have happened in my life. But it was one of those things where my mom sat us down. I just come in. Well, I was my first year at nationals. I was dead last, 9th out of 9. The next year I was 9th out of 10. But the guy that came in 10th, probably shouldn't have been there. So, yeah. And then I went up to the junior level and came in 7th. And so I beat 2 guys, which was like huge. I actually beat 2 guys at nationals. And it was right after that nationals, my mom came home and said, hey, family meeting. And she was very upbeat and very positive and very, smiling and everything else. And we go, okay, we never had a family meeting before. What's going on? She said, well, I have cancer and I'm going to need a medicine and maybe a little help around the house. And I was like, I thought cancer was a bad thing. Why is she so happy? So she said, she gave everybody a list of chores to do. And then she looked at me and she said, and you, mister? And I'm like, yes. And she said, we're almost bankrupt. So this is your last year. We're going to find a way to scrape enough cash together to get you through your last year. It's your senior in high school. And we'll get you through this year. And this will be your last year. Make it good. And then we'll see what happens, next year. We're both professors at Bowling Green State University. You can go free. We can afford free so that you'll be going to university next year. It's okay. So I went back to where I trained in Illinois, and my main coach had retired and a new coach stepped in who was very much a disciplinarian and a whip cracker and everything else. I said, well, it's my last year. I might as well submit. And I learned how to skate at a higher level under him, a higher level of commitment, a higher level of, just living in fear of, him. I would do whatever he told me to do. And I went to the nationals, and my mom arrived, and she was wearing a sling on her left arm because they just removed her left breast and all of the lymph nodes under her left arm. So she was, obviously at big surgery, and she lost all her hair. So she was wearing a wig. And so she just had the biggest smile on her face. And it's just like, are you okay? And she goes, I am absolutely fantastic. And it's like, what kind of drugs do they have you on? Because this doesn't make sense to me why you're so beat. And she goes, you just go out and skate and we'll talk when we're done. Now, up to that point, the best they'd ever done is second to last, right? Or whatever, 7th out of 9. And because of this coach, I think I was just more prepared, differently prepared than I ever was before. And I won junior nationals. And the reason my mom was in such a good mood was on the way to the nationals in Colorado Springs, she stopped or connected in Chicago, and she met a couple there. It was a setup meeting that I knew nothing about, where this couple said, we love skating. We have plenty of money and we don't have any children, and we would love to sponsor your son. And we just wanted to meet you first, because this is an investment. We really want him to experience everything that he can get out of the sport, and we'll look after that. We can do that effortlessly, and that'll lighten your load. And so she knew that before I stepped on the ice. I just went out and skated. And so afterwards, she kind of laid it all out for me. She said, you're now going to be a senior level skater. We have a sponsor. It's in place, and they're wonderful people. Can't wait for you to meet them. The only string attached to the sponsorship is that you move to Denver, Colorado, and you take from Carlo Fassi, who that year was coaching a girl named Dorothy Hamill to an Olympic gold medal. So, of course, now I'm turning 18 years old. I'm sponsored, and I get my own apartment for the very first time. It's called the Trifecta. Doesn't work. It never has worked. No one is equipped at 18 years old to step into that. And I didn't even know how I even made it to nationals that year, but I was a mess. I was distracted, and I was just like total adolescent, Yeah, I give my 18-year-old son grace because of who I was at 18 years old. I was just a mess. So I went out and I came in ninth, back to my ninth place finish. And 2 months later, I'm sleeping on the couch, and after being in my mom's hospital room till 3:30 in the morning, and I'm wakened by my brother-in-law at the time, who just said, your mother is gone. And you have to understand, she was the center of my universe. She was the most loved person in my life. I mean, I just adored my mom, and she was everything to me. I just loved, respected, admired. She was the pinnacle for me, And now, how am I going to do this without her, right? And I went through all the survival guilt and everything else, and I walked around in my backyard, and it was in that walk in my backyard that I just decided that I didn't need to do this without her. I could take her with me to the ice every single day and try to aspire to be the young man and the skater that she always dreamed I could be. And it changed everything. I mean, I wouldn't be late. I would be focused. I wouldn't pretend like I was training. I was actually training. I kind of went back to all those techniques that I learned under my whip cracking coach. I was now under the most successful coach in the world. And it was like, if I can't make it work with Carlo Fassi, there's something really crazy. And that year, I went from the ninth place finish that my mom saw to third. I was on the podium at the senior nationals, and I came in 11th at the world championships. I made it on the world team. 2 years later, my relationship with Carlo kind of changed the next year because I got injured, and he was interested in other things, and so we just sort of like that relationship didn't work. And I don't look at that as an accident. I look at that as a gift, because we remained friends. We had the highest respect for each other, but he just didn't really want the responsibility of coaching me. So I went to a guy named Don Laws. He trained me in a way that was perfect. I made it onto the Olympic team in 1980. I came in fifth, went to the World Championships right after that, came in fifth. So now I'm on this roll, and the top three guys in the world retired. So I went from just getting up in the morning. All I had to do is wake up, and I'm ranked second in the world. It's kind of like great cup of coffee. And from there, it was like, what do I need to do to win? Like that was the decision is, okay, I'm second in the world. I'm that close. What do I need to do to win? And I just had to take a long, hard look in the mirror and just understand where I'm weak, and then embrace that weakness to make sure that I spend enough attention on it so that it would no longer be a weakness. And from then on, it was just like I couldn't lose. I went for the next 4 years, starting in October. October, I think it was 30th, Skate Canada in Calgary was the first of the string that took me through 4 years, 4 world championships, 4 US championships, Olympic gold medal. It just, I couldn't lose. I couldn't lose. And it was just bizarre that I got lucky a bunch, but I just figured out what I needed to do to be able to step on that top podium. And it was remarkable because it changed the course of my life forever.
All right. So you're experiencing this success on the world level now, and you're getting set here in 1984 for the Olympics. Obviously, there's got to be some nerves there going into that. But first, before you even getting there, like, what's the process for you of deciding your music that you're going to go to perform to? And, are you, before you even get there, are you going through your routine and you know exactly what you're going to do there? Or is that something that you...
Oh yeah, you train every day, right? So what I learned to do in those 4 years was train every day like it was competition. So when I take my place to train my long program, I would say, this is competition. This is the only chance I get. This is the one. This is 100% full out, 100% effort. Got to get through it. Got to be clean. If you mess something, go, get up, fix it, done. And so every day was competition. So I got used to that adrenaline rush at the beginning of the music. I got used to the pressure. I got used, because I put it on myself every day, and I would do a run through every day. So there was never any situation where I felt like I wasn't prepared. So after the string of victories going into Sarajevo, the only thing I had to avoid was the media, because every time I talk to anybody from the press, they go, "Do you realize that you're the lock? You're the only sure thing coming into this Olympics, that if you don't win the gold medal, it's going to be looked upon as a failure?" How does that make you feel? It's like, it makes me feel like I'm going to stay in my apartment in the village and not talk to you guys until I'm done. That's how it makes me feel. So yeah, so I knew I was under pressure, but I came in with a solid strategy. My coach and I did the math, and the way that skating was scored back then was on placements. So when you were awarded a placement in one of the 3 disciplines of the competition, that had a point value. And we realized, just looking at the field, that all I had to do was be top 3 in the compulsory figures, short program and long program, and I couldn't lose the gold medal. Like, there was no way. But I wanted to win big. Like my going into the U.S. Nationals in 1984, my goal there was to win every element of the competition by every single judge. So I would get every, like, first figure, second figure, third figure, all 9 judges first place. Short program, all 9 judges first place, and both the technical and the artistic part of the competition. Same with long, and I managed to do that. So I knew I was prepared for the Olympics. And so when I got there, I guess, the whole thing was, I didn't want to have one would have, could have, or should have when I stepped on the ice. No, not one regret. And I knew that Brian Orser was probably now in a position to just absolutely run a clinic on me in the long program. And he did. And so, there was that media that was going, well, how does this work? And I go, well, it's like, if you're watching the Super Bowl and one team scores 35 points in the first quarter, what are the odds are the other team's coming back? He said, well, none. I go, that was my strategy coming in, was to get an insurmountable lead so that no one could beat me. So I won the compulsory figures, which was a miracle in its own right. And then I was broken tie for first to Orser. He won the tiebreaker. So I was second in the short, and then I was second in the long. And so, I needed to be was 3-3-3 in those 3 events, and I'd win the gold. But when I stepped on the ice for the long program, according to the math, Brian had to win the long program, and I had to be 5th. The odds of that happening were not really it wasn't going to happen. So I'd either have to fall down, break my leg in the long program, or not finish somehow, or it just was that, right? Because there wasn't enough guys that could beat me even on an off day. There weren't 4 guys. So I won, and the media was kind of like needed an explanation. I gave it as, I came here with a strategy, and I really wish I would have skated better in the long program. Brian Orser is the future of our sport. He and Brian Boitano and Victor or Alexander Fadeev, they're going to be on the podium next year at the World Championships. So, I had a great run. I did it strategically. I did it consistently, and now it's time to, for them to take over. And so I think I talked him out of a horrible write-up, and then it was next to step into the professional world and try to make something there, because it was unproven that a male skater could draw an audience or pull any interest in professional skating at all. It's a challenge.
Yeah, the strategy worked out, of course, and maybe some athletes in today's current state, they don't really think too strategically, and sometimes that's why the pressure can get to them. But no pressure got to you. We've had other Olympic gold medalists on our show as well. I always like to ask the question, what was it like living in the Olympic Village? And if you went to either the opening or closing ceremonies, how was that experience?
Yeah. Well, I went to everything. I 80, I went to everything. I went to every hockey game. I was in the Village. I was in the city. I was all over Lake Placid. We had a blast. It was so much fun, because when you're the third guy on a 3-man team, you can afford to kind of treat it like you're a tourist, because I had no chance of meddling. And so then 4 years later, I'm the lock, right? I'm expected to win, and it's different, right? So the Village was me sort of hanging out in my room, listening to music, journaling. I had an air purifier, because the air in Sarajevo, they called it affectionately Planet Smoke, because they burn soft coal for heat their homes, and everybody smoked cigarettes, and everywhere you went, it was smoke. And so it would, just thinking about it, it's like, Phil Merritt called it Yugo throat. Everybody gets Yugo throat, right? So I just stayed in my room and had an air purifier and just try to not get too much of that in me. And I got a really bad cold during the Olympics, and my whole right side of my head was just full, and I couldn't take any medication because of doping. And so I was a little bit, kind of off a little bit, kind of getting to the end of the competition. But I went to the opening ceremonies, loved it. I went to closing ceremonies, loved it. I went to all the other events and watched the Americans compete, and it was just ideal, wonderful, awesome competition. And Sarajevo is a really exotic city. Tragic what happened to it after we left, but it was just really remarkable and memorable and special. And I think anybody going to the Olympics needs to really experience the Olympics and not treat it as a business trip. They need to be involved and enjoy all of it. And it's a festival of sport. It's a celebration of youth and excellence and the world coming together at peace. And that's what we have to adopt it as athletes when we participate. It's not about winning gold medals to go home and try to find a way to cash that in. It's about representing your country, and it's about meeting the other athletes and understanding that you're part of this global community of people trying to do something at a high level and entertain the masses.
Being a high level athlete, the trajectory that you were on, once you reach the mountaintop, there's always that saying to stay at the top. It's a little more difficult than getting there. Obviously, you took a slightly unconventional route there, and it worked for you. So after winning gold in 1984, was it a tough decision to turn pro and join the Ice Capades?
No, it really wasn't. I was flat broke because back then Olympic
that was
sport,
the logical next step.
Oh, it was the only next step. I was living in my best friend's parents' basement, and I didn't have a pot to whatever, and it was just like nothing, right? So I needed to kind of like, now I'm 25 years old. I need to there were two guys named Brian that were like, okay, it's their turn. So to stay in, it was kind of like, I've done everything you can do. And not only that, but I look back on that, it's like the last person to win, to go from the Olympics, right? From the first year after the Olympics to go 4 years undefeated for the entire 4 years. before me was Hayes Jenkins in 1956. And how many people have done it since me?
None.
Exactly. And I thought Nathan would absolutely do it. He did the 4 worlds and Olympic gold, and he did it great, but there was one oops in there. And it was like, it's like, oh man, I was really hoping that he'd be the guy to like take that over, so that people, but at the same time, there was that little bit of the, Miami Dolphins kind of like, pop of champagne happens a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
There's still
Yeah,
that,
the
but
only
no,
undefeated.
nobody cares, it's just nobody cares. But, it was just, it was that I needed to make money, and I needed to get out of the workplace, and I needed to make a name for myself. There's a lot of things that I needed to be doing, and it wasn't going back. I have sort of this life sort of saying that I kind of have to, look upon all the time. And I think you guys can relate to it. Nostalgia is expensive. If you missed out on buying that 65 Mustang for $2,300 in 1965, try finding one for 75 grand today. It's that, right? So, and it's always, it's kind of Facebook. That girl in high school, I remember, I'm going to leave my family. It's all this stuff. Like nostalgia is expensive, right? Looking back and saying, oh, if it were only that way now. No, it's like, I'm going this way. I'm not going that way.
Right.
I'm going this way. So looking back and saying, yeah, I had a great run and staying on the podium at Worlds every year, being the world champion. It's great. Ultimate kind of feedback. It's like, I conquered the world. But then it's kind of like, no, it's time for next. And I need to get to work. And the best opportunity for me was to do a limited run with Ice Capades. It's a 33-week season, and I signed for 20 because I wanted to do other things as well. So I signed with CBS to be their figure skating commentator. Did that forever until NBC took over the Olympics, and then I did it with them. Even this last Olympics, I was doing some stuff for Peacock, and it's always an honor to cover the Olympics and be in broadcasting. And so that was great. And then I do television specials and professional competitions, and we were just busy. It was just, first year I was professional, I was on the road almost 12 months. Second year I was professional, I was on the road almost 11 months.
Jeez.
And then at the end of 2 years with Ice Capades, a new owner came in and decided he didn't want any male skaters. He only wanted female stars. So they let me go. Right?
Worked out for you
So,
big time.
Well, I mean,
Sure.
I was stepping, it was like stepping, it was a step in the dark, right? So my manager, Bob Kane, genius guy, one of the top guys at IMG, he's one of my best men at my wedding kind of thing. He sat me down on a beach in Florida. I went down to go to the Lipton tennis tournament, and he goes, let's have a meeting on the beach. And I said, all right. And he goes, hey, I've done everything I can with Ice Capades. They're totally set on women. They're not going to bring you back. And I go, okay. I think that's what the president of Ice Capades told me. So I was prepared for that news, because I try to get you a few weeks just to, get some money in the bank, but they don't want you at all. I said, okay. And then he said, but we've been talking internally. Would you consider helping us build a figure skating tour? And I remember my response was, well, let me check my calendar. It's like, I'm so unemployed. It's like, yeah. And so we put together a prototype show that toured 5 college campuses, October of '86. And then we went back out more of an exhibition tour in December. And then we decided to go back to a full production show that we did in the college campuses in October. And that became Stars on Ice. And the next season, we had a corporate sponsor, a brand new company called Discover Card came on board, and Dorothy Hamill came on board. And we just became this really fun tour for professional skaters to go out and skate at their best. Rock and roll, one show, one city, one night, next. Let's get into it. So we did 30 cities like that for 6 years. we started, it came to the point where we were break even, I think year 3 or 4. And then by year 6, we were making money. And then at the end of year 6, Christy Yamaguchi wins the Olympic gold medal, first time since Dorothy Hamill, and decides she doesn't want to go anywhere but Stars on Ice. So we get Christy Yamaguchi, we get Katarina Witt, we get Gordy Evan Greenkopf had been with us for a while. We got Kurt Browning, Paul Wiley. Sooner than later, Torvill Dean came to skate with us, and it just became this superstar show of all these Olympic stars. It just didn't want to go anywhere but to us. Mm-hmm. And we were selling out arenas all over the country. And when Christy joined, we went from 30 to 60 cities, and then we did 12 more in Canada. And it was just remarkable to see the growth and to see, just how this tour can just become a destination. And there was champions on ice and there were stars on ice, and a big, huge audience of figure skating out there, pro competitions, TV specials. We were just busy, really busy. And it was just remarkable. And just year after year, I thought if I skated 4 years as a professional, I was fooling a lot of people. But now we're looking at year 13. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And why can't I stand up straight anymore? Mm-hmm. This is really like, what is happening? I must have an ulcer. So 50 cities into a 60-city tour where I was in pain most of that tour. I went into an emergency room in Peoria, Illinois, and a really good doctor there named Dr. John Carroll sat me down. And he said, we found a mass. And I go, I have no idea what that means, but it's kind of cool for a little guy like me to hear mass and description of. And he goes, no, you need to take this thing seriously because it's either benign, malignant, or something else. And it was in that I realized I was being diagnosed with cancer. And it was 20 years, 2 months shy of 20 years, I lost my mom to cancer and I'm being diagnosed. And fear was extraordinary, but it's something funny about cancer. It's like a lot of the people I talk to that have had that diagnosis, they go from incredibly fearful to incredibly aggressively like ready for combat. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Let's beat this thing. I want my life back. I want I want this. I want that. I want, they get hungry for life. And so that was me. No one was allowed in my room at the hospital unless it made me laugh. Cleveland Clinic treated me great. Had a lot of chemotherapy, and then a big 38 staple surgery. So my memento of that is this big, beautiful scar down my abdomen. And I look at it all the time and just realize our bodies are incredibly resilient and magnificent and beautifully designed. And I just got back on the road next year. My goal was to be back on tour the next year. And I was there back on the road next year. So it was unbelievable. And every time I was hit with like that dead end, or that, whether it be my parents run out of money, or new owner of Ice Capades, or whatever it is, or cancer. It always seemed like there was something there to get me through it. And I think that's why, my faith journey has been so important in my life, just to be able to identify it and understand where the miracles and where all of that comes from.
Yeah, certainly a miracle, a true inspiration. And just to close things here on Stars on Ice, it really changed the game. And it's totally different now for figure skating. Do that, of course. Now for you, Scott, when you are, obviously it was banned during competition, but for exhibitions, you're known for your signature backflip, which was pretty dangerous. When was the last time you attempted one, and how often do you skate now?
Well, my wife and I had a son 9 months and 2 days after we got married, and I'm on the road guest starring or guest skating with Stars on Ice. They lost a lot of their audience, so just sort of eroded, and they needed me to come back and just help out if I could. And so I'm on the road, and I was skating to a song, Only One Life. It's a Jimmy Cliff song that Michael Feinstein sang, and Michael and I became really good friends over the years. And so I'm in New York City, Madison Square Garden, and he's on the ice singing Only One Life, and I'm skating to it. It's just, this is as good as it gets. And then the next night I'm in Long Island, I'm skating to Only One Life. And the whole time I'm out there, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? like, what am I doing here? So I have a son. I want to see his first steps and I want to hear his first words. And I'm on the road, like in my 40s, like hobbling through shows. It's like, I got to step away. I got to be a dad. I don't, it's not about me anymore. It's about him. So I stopped skating for 5 years. In 2009, I decided, you know, I had a brain tumor diagnosis in 2004. I decided I wanted to see if I could skate again. It's kind of a healthy midlife crisis. So at 51, I went back to skating, and I said at my cancer benefit I used to do in Cleveland that I said in year 9, I'll be out here next year and I'm going to skate for the 10th anniversary show. So that was a way to generate more interest in my foundation and the work I was doing in cancer. So I trained really hard. And I get to New York. I was doing some promotional stuff there. And a friend of mine, Bobby Goldwater, used to be executive at Madison Square Garden, was the executive team that put together the Staples Center, you know, really cool guy. And we're sitting in the cab going to dinner, and he goes, "So how's the training going?" I go, "I'm 51. He goes, "How's the backflip?" And I go, "Bobby, I'm 51 years old. Why would I do that?" And he goes, "Sorry." He goes, "When was the last time you did a show without a backflip in it?" And I was like, "Oh crap, there's going to be expectation." So I called my trainer in Nashville and I said, "Find me a gymnastics coach. I got to learn how to do a backflip." So came back, started learning it on the floor. Finally got on the ice. 2 weeks before the show, I finally do my first backflip on my own at 51-year-old legs. I kind of looked like that bald guy with a red bow tie in the Six Flags commercial. That ding, ding, ding. I kind of felt like that, you know. So I go out for the show, and there's a camera crew in the corner recording it. And I'm thinking, this is a big deal. Oh, I'm coming back to the ice. You know, I'm thinking it's a great big deal. So I go around and I skate and I do my first jump. And I do my second jump, and I realize at the end of the second jump that I'm on my butt. And I'm like, oh no. And I try to get up, my legs sort of wobble. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is yeah, my legs are gone. And I'm 51, and I got to go all the way to the other end of the ice and come right back to where I'm sitting and do a backflip on drop dead legs. But I've only did my first one like 2 weeks ago after 5 years. And this is not good. This is like really not good. This is bad. So I go around and I just take this big, deeper breath, and I do this big presentation move to the audience on stage right. And I look square into the face of William Shatner.
Ooh.
And I think, now there's something you don't see every day. And I started laughing, right? And so it just broke the spell of all this gloom and doom. And I went back and I got enough breath in my lungs and enough strength in my legs where I had like 45 seconds of music left. I threw this backflip as hard as I possibly could and got over, landed it.
Ooh.
And for the next 40 seconds, 8,000 people pushed me to the finish line. It was unbelievable. So we get to the end. The show's over. Camera crew comes over and goes, "Can we do a short interview?" I go, "Absolutely," because I mean, I'm not king of the world, right? And they go, "You fell." Like, you know, if it bleeds, it leads, right? You know, it's like the media, right? "You fell." And I go, "Yeah, I did. I was there. Yeah, I remember I fell." And he said, how did that, he goes, "Was that embarrassing for you?" And I thought about it for a second, and I thought, no. And he went like, "Come on." And I go, "No, it wasn't embarrassing to me because it kind of represented the entire journey. How many times have I fallen? How many times have I failed? How many times have I been knocked down? How many times have I stepped into a situation where it was just like the worst, cancer, brain tumors, all this stuff?" And I thought, no, it represented all of it. You fall down and you get up. You just get up and you face whatever's next. You know, cancer, it's like, yeah, I got knocked down, but you get up, right? And brain tumor, I got knocked down. You get up and you face things and you try to go after things in remarkable ways, and good things happen, right? So it kind of felt like the bow on everything. And it's just like, so 2010, that 2009, 2010, well, that was the last time I skated, last time I did backflips, And the year ended with a beautiful shoulder surgery by Richard Hawkins, Stephen Hawkins. And then following that remarkable, shoulder surgery, brain tumor returned. One surgery became 10. And so, like just the physicality changed a little bit. And so I decided to do other things, after that and just be a dad. So long, short story long, like I always do. But, it's important to say those things because, we all fail, we all fall down, we all get challenged in ways that we don't like or don't anticipate. And it's up to us to respond. And that's one example of responding in a really powerful way.
Yeah, I think many times people get too caught up in the destination and you have tunnel vision to the end, but there's beauty in the journey in itself.
Oh, no.
And that's something that we can appreciate with you. So we're going to take you back now. We're going to take you back 20 years. 1990 inductee, as I alluded to at the top, inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame. So definitively one of the greatest U.S. athletes in our history. Yeah. So where were you when you received news that you were going to be inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame? What was your reaction? And who was the first person that you told?
It was really wild. I was so busy. I just didn't understand really what it meant. They said, "Oh, you've been inducted into the Olympic Hall of Fame." Oh, cool. Why? I mean, there are a lot of people. Why am I going in? And they go, "Well, you got to be in Minneapolis. We're going to be doing, big event there. The whole class is going to be inducted there. Is there any way you want to bring?" And I go, "Well, not really. I mean, I got to. What date is it? Because I got to make sure I can get there." I was that busy, right? I was just like going from one place to another. So I remember getting there, and I was sitting with an executive, a secretary of the U.S. Olympic Committee, who's also a figure skating judge, and Chuck Foster. And we were sitting together, and it was like, why isn't my own family here? This is not right. I just felt off. And then, Sammy Lee, the diver, was inducted, and it was amazing. And I'm getting to meet all these iconic athletes. And I was just so humbled. It didn't even hit me until I'm in the room, the size and scope and enormity of just being now part of that kind of Olympic family in a new way of being in the Hall of Fame. And George Foreman closed the show, and he was hilarious. I mean, that guy is just awesome. So I went in with George Foreman. One of these things is not like the other. But it's one of those things where there's so much noise in our lives that sometimes we forget to focus on the beauty. It's like trying to get through a hike. It's like, no, take your time. You're in nature now. This is as good as it gets, right? And I really wish that I would have had my family there. When I was inducted into the World Figure Skating Hall of Fame and the U.S. Figure Skating Hall of Fame, I didn't make that mistake again. My dad was there. My sponsor, Helen McElrain, was there. She was like my mom. She kind of stepped in when my mom, lost her battle to cancer, and my coach was there, and they were all there, and we had a wonderful celebration. They said, "Would you like to have any articles of your competitive career in, the Hall of Fame for that induction?" I go, "Do you want all of it?" And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Will you take all of it? Because I don't really want it. Will you take all of it?" And they go, "Sure. I mean, what are you going to do with your Olympic gold medal?" I go, "That's what I want you to take that."
Wow.
And they go, "Yeah," because it was, no, I'm serious, guys. It lived in a brown paper bag in my underwear drawer for 8 years. And it just, I don't know why. There was something about it that I just didn't want it. I just didn't want it. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I guess by that time I'd seen enough Olympic athletes get stuck in the moment. And I just didn't want to get stuck. I wanted to keep going, that way forward. Nostalgia is expensive. It's really expensive. So I just really wanted to keep moving forward and build a life and a career that kept moving forward, not getting stuck in the past. And so I couldn't wait to get rid of all of it. They have everything. I don't have one thing left in my home.
Wow.
Not one thing. And it's really cool.
Have you taken your kids there to see
I
everything?
took my youngest. Yeah, he had a hockey tournament in Monument, Colorado. So we went over to the museum and I let him wear it. the medal, and he got pictures with it and everything. He thought
You're
it
like,
was
that's
really
my
cool.
medal. Take it out of the case. My son's gonna put it on.
Yeah, and he thought it was really fun. And then it was like, okay, where are we going out for lunch? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's find a good place to eat. So it's just those moments are meant to be sort of frozen in time,
Yeah.
and they're not meant to be put in a bag and carried along, because life can get pretty heavy when you do that. We just got to keep moving forward. And the more we look back, it's like anyone, if you're a sprinter and you look back, how much time have you just lost?
Right.
You just keep looking forward. And I've really tried to do that. And it's fun to talk about those little moments, but I think, if any of it has any value, is what it can do to help somebody else when they're stuck, or when they're in a time of incredible challenge, pain, like cancer can bring. If I can be a source of inspiration or perspective to someone going through it, then it had meaning. Otherwise, it had no meaning at all.
Absolutely.
You surely are.
So you mentioned this earlier, but 1985, you joined CBS as a broadcaster, and there was some overlap. But now, as far as figure skating goes, you've been a broadcaster longer than you were an actual figure skater.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you broadcasting your first Olympics?
It was really cool. Like, it started off, I started off doing the World Championships, and my play-by-play guy was John Tesh, who is 6'5". So when we did our on camera together, he had to be sitting down. It was hilarious, because we weren't. If we were standing up, he was not in the shot, or I wasn't in the shot. But there was a camera lens big enough for get both of them. So I did the first couple years with John Tesh, and then they put Tim Ryan. Remember Tim Ryan? He did Wimbledon, he did skiing, he did all this stuff.
Sure.
We were partnered together for a couple years, and then David Michaels of CBS at that time had a really cool idea of partnering me with Vern Lundquist. And so Vern and I did 3 Olympics together. We did 94 together, which was a real challenge and very distracting and hard to do. And my best, I don't want to take anything away from anyone else, because I've had great teams throughout. But my best favorite Olympics were sitting on Vern's right-hand side, and just a couple dogs talking dogs, about, he was Chien qui parlait, and I was the Chihuahua. That's what we were, talking dogs for the Olympic Games. And we had a lot of fun. And then I got the call from Dick Ebersol, we're doing the Olympics. You want to come join our team? And I said, absolutely. And so I did a bunch of Olympics for NBC, and really grown to be very fond of, everyone there, Molly Solomon and Becky Chapman, and, just a great group of leaders there. And it's just been really fun to be, still a part of the Olympics and try to represent those athletes' performances and what they mean historically, what they mean right now, and just sort of give them their moment in the sun.
There you go. So speaking of moment in the sun, you're one of the stars of Blades of Glory, probably the best figure skating movie of all time. How did that come about
very
for you?
underrated.
I mean,
very underrated.
Will Farrell wrote that role specifically for you. So how did that connection come about?
It was hilarious. Okay, so my choreographer, Sarah Kawahara, of 20 years, I guess, as a pro, she pretty much did everything I ever did. She was the choreographer for Blades of Glory. And I'll go back. So I was taking my son to a Dora the Explorer thing when he was really little in LA. And we, it's a Sunday morning, and we get stuck 3 hours in traffic to get to, so we're really late, and it's really awful. So we're walking in as everyone's walking out to go, they had a crafts thing and all the characters, and we missed all that because of traffic. So we're walking in, and I walk straight into Ben Stiller. Okay. I'm Forrest Gump. So I go, hey, how are you? And he goes, hey, it's really funny I run into you, because I'm in the process right now of producing a figure skating movie. Just started laughing. And I go, well, okay. When Harry Met Sally on Ice. No, it was not that one. It was something about Mary on Ice. Yeah. I go, okay. All right. This is going to be awesome. I go, well, if you need anything, reach out. And so he goes, I'll do that. Great seeing you. So the next thing I get is a call from Sarah saying, have they called you yet? And I go, no, I haven't heard from anybody. And they go, you're in the script. You're written into the script. And I go,
Wow.
well, that gives me a little bit of negotiating leverage. And they go, they haven't called you yet. And I go, no. I go, well, we're starting production. We're shooting, and it's just awesome. This is so funny. And it's like Spielberg's involved. Like we have to run everything by Steven Spielberg every night. And it's like, what? And so it's crazy. So I meet with the two directors, and it was so fun. They just loved figure skating and all the research and everything. And so they go, do you want to go on set tomorrow? And I go, I'd love that. And so I go, we'll meet with your management. We'll get a deal together and we just really want you to do this. And I said, great. So I go to the set the next day, and it was the fish warehouse where they did all the training, with Craig T. Nelson, who's a golf buddy of mine. So the Forrest Gump thing. So I'm back there, and they're waiting to shoot, and I'm talking with Will Ferrell and John Heder, and I'm thinking, how the heck did I get here? This is so outrageous. And they wanted to know all about skating. They wanted to know, well, how about this person? What about that? And what about this performance? And how do you learn that? And what do you do about this? And they were just mining me for information the whole time. And then I sat around and I watched them shoot. And it was one of those things where we're definitely going into dialogue replacement because the crew was laughing out loud during the takes. It's like, it was that funny. And sure, I got the part, and we came in at the very end of shooting, and Jim Lampley and I were the broadcasters, and it was so much fun. We're all dressed. We're doing this one thing, and Will, one of the directors, came up and said, "Hey, can you come downstairs real quick?" And I go, "Sure, yeah. What do you need?" And he goes, "Will he just wrote a little scene. It's an interview thing for when they get done in Denver, and he really wants you to shoot an interview with them." I was like, "Okay."
That's so great.
It was the scene where, like, he's drinking champagne in the kiss and cry area, and he slapped the woman on the rear end who brought him this thing, and he goes, "We're gonna ride this train." Oh my, how did I get here? And this is so much fun.
Well, you said it yourself. They wrote it for you. They literally wrote you in.
It was so great. And it was just I have a Blades of Glory poster in my office, and it's all signed by the cast, and I got to do the press junket with them. And I remember they had a blue carpet. It was meant to look like ice for the opening, the premiere. And I was doing a press line, and they go, "So what's your next role?" It's like, well, I'm just waiting for, what's his name? It just flew out of my head. Anyway, there's a great actor, who's really super handsome. I'm just waiting for him to slow down just a little bit. Then I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to take all the roles. I think my next planned role is Spartacus, the remake of Spartacus. I think I got the build, the look.
Well, maybe your next role is going to be Six Flags commercials when they bring back the Vega Band.
If they make another Die Hard movie and they need somebody to be Bruce Willis' stunt double,
yeah, I could do it. I could totally. If they need a backflip, I could throw in together.
Skate hard.
Well, to be fair, Bruce Willis is also retired now, apparently.
Yeah, so there's my opening.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I see it. I totally see it. But listen, you had a remarkable career and something that not a lot of people get to the pinnacle of, and you were rewarded for it. So,
well, it's been an amazing, fun journey, and I made a lot of friends along the way, and I've gotten to really experience a lot of outrageously just remarkable things. And to this day, I still get to I have a fundraising show in the fall, every Sunday before Thanksgiving, where we raise money for cancer at Bridgestone Arena. Sean Henry and the Predators gift me the building, which is an incredible honor. And we have iconic artists, musical artists, performing for our Olympic figure skaters. And it's a really cool marriage of music and movement, and the skaters love it. And it's really a great way to get to work with my heroes who are musicians and my friends who are skaters, and try to solve a big problem that affects us all, which is cancer. So if I'm a male figure skater, if I'm not plugging something, then it's a missed opportunity. So you gotta understand,
Of course.
And if anybody wants to help us with our cancer research, we're doing remarkable work in the immunotherapy space, and and we've done a lot to, on the support side and the information side and the education side of cancer, but we're really focused on changing cancer therapies forever. Enough of this chemotherapy. I'm here because of the chemo 25 years later, but I can't wait to get rid of it. We're funding immunotherapy studies. We're really trying to ignite the human body's own ability to fight this thing off instead of filling it full of chemicals. And so scottcares.org, we'd love people to join us. We have a 1984 campaign where you can just pledge $19.84 a month, and it will really help us meet our goals. So, all that, if nothing else comes out of this interview, I'm really hoping that people understand that I want to use everything I've ever experienced to help the community heal and to help people rise above cancer, and to do it in ways that allow them to live their lives authentically for the rest of their lives, instead of with the collateral damage that comes from today's treatments.
Obviously, you're very charitable, and you use that celebrity status. I mean, you don't consider yourself a celebrity, but Joe, I mean, when it comes to celebrities, you gotta consider Scott, right?
Absolutely. Truly unbelievable purpose. You're continuing to do amazing things and the right thing. And Nick and I are so happy to have you on. We're going to let you go very soon. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
You were on the second season of Celebrity Apprentice. Who approached you about that opportunity?
Well, I've known Donald Trump for a very long time. I hope that doesn't get me canceled somewhere.
It won't.
I met him in the late 80s when he did the Trump rink in New York. And I just see him all the time. I just run into him all the time. And I know him in a different way than probably most of the people know Donald Trump. He's a remarkable philanthropist, unbelievably charitable with his time, quietly. Everything else is loud, like peak levels loud. But charitably, he's really remarkable. He does a lot of things quietly and tastefully and elegantly. And I've seen that side of him. So I got the call to do Apprentice. I go, yeah, I think that'd be fun. I'd like to learn. I'd like to really get into a team. And I'd like to really just, experience something really cool. What I didn't know was that the whole nature of the show is to make everybody kind of go after each other. And, just like, so the day I got fired, everybody gets fired except for one person, right? And I knew that was going to be Joan Rivers, because I knew that was going to be Joan Rivers. Like I was in figure skating. I can tell where a judging, panel is headed towards a certain athlete. So Joan was going to win no matter what Andy Dukes did. Joan was going to win. So I was there, and the men's team was so dysfunctional. A lot of really fun, cool, awesome people on the men's team, Herschel Walker and Brian McKnight and Jesse James and Clint Black. And, it was just, a lot of really cool guys on the team, but they were just, everybody's like this, they were paranoid and they were all fighting each other. It was like, all right, I don't belong here. But the day I got fired, we were in the NASDAQ building and I couldn't get on the internet. And the room, our room that we were working in was 85 degrees. It's like, is the air conditioning working? Oh, they're working on the air conditioning now. And everybody's sweating and everybody's kind of getting angry at each other and getting delayed. And it was just like, oh my goodness. And I just felt so bad that, we're going to do the best we can. And we had a great time. I thought, Dennis Rodman designed the costume that we were going to use for our model, and Jesse James made it happen. And it was just all these, there was some really cool things, but we just, that we didn't win we didn't win because I made a stupid choice. It was my fault. And, but I was being hobbled by the comedian. Oh my goodness, why is it flown out of my head? Anyway, he was just sabotaging me everywhere he possibly could. And so I got fired. And I thanked Donald Trump for that. To this day, I go, thank you for firing me. I did not, there was nothing about it that appealed to me at all. And it was funny that Jesse James only did the show that year to apologize to me for stealing my car when he was 16 years old in San Diego and stripping it for parts. How cool is that?
So there's a lot of comedians.
Crazy.
Here. Was it
there's so many levels of this.
Was Tom Green the one sabotaging you?
Yes, Tom Green. Yeah, I've run into him a couple of times since, and it's been awkward. But you know, he was just doing what he was going to do. He was going to sabotage. That was his strategy, was to sabotage everyone. The week after I got fired, he got fired because he got Dennis Rodman so drunk that Dennis couldn't make it to the next day's shoot. You know, so it's kind of all that. You know, it's just sort of like crazy, wild, dysfunctional. You know, the forced human drama of, you know, all of it. But it was. I met some cool people and it was fun. Like Clint Black and I have been friends before that, and still to this day. And you know, I still run into Jesse every now and then. I check on him because I really have a soft place in my heart for Jesse James, even though he stripped and stole my car. And you know, yeah. So it's, anyways, it was a great mistake, a big, phenomenal, memorable mistake. Okay, too. We all make those.
All right. So we reached our final question here, which we consider our most important question here.
Oh, I'm nervous.
It is, what in your career was your "you know I'm right" moment? So what I mean by that is a time where you wanted to pursue something. So maybe that's figure skating related. Maybe that's the tour. Maybe it's broadcasting, writing a book, whatever it is. And you asked somebody for advice. And they said, you know what, Scott, that sounds like a bad idea. I wouldn't do that. And you say, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. And ultimately, you will see why it is that I'm right.
You know, I think the whole thing has elements of that. It's like, why do you want to be a figure skater? You know, it's a small town in Ohio. You don't have any training. You don't have any rinks. You don't have anything. Why would you do that? It's like, I had one kid my age. We're at the year I came in dead last in novice nationals. It was kind of one of these moments I like to talk about and just remember. This skater my age, he did well. I didn't. And we're at this party for Gordy McKellen, who won his first senior title that year. And he just said, you know, we're 14 years old, right? And he goes, hey, go get me a beer. And I go, they're right there. I mean, you just grab one for yourself. And he goes, no. I have something to lose. You don't.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. And it's funny because it was there that I realized that not only did I lose, but I'm looked upon as a loser. Right. And so I always that one was always in the back of my mind, not as a little bit of a scar, but mostly it like it matters. Like things that, you know, your approach to things, everything you do matters. And so, like, I took everything seriously, you know, like I had to learn how to do it. Like after my mom died, that was a big one. But that was a moment that I realized that things have consequences. And you know, I wasn't prepared. I was immature. I didn't know how to focus. My coach made me on my figures, my compulsory figure skates, because they're different than the free skates. He made me put a white lace in my left skate so I know the difference between my right and my left foot. You know, that's how crazy, how lost I was. So, you know, you remember little things like that as sort of moments where it's sort of that fork in the road. And I did a TED talk on suffering, and it just seemed like a downer, you know, thing, but we all suffer, right? So I talk about the fork in the road not being a left or right, but an up or down. And I go, when you get to one of those forks in the road, it's really important that you start the climb. You start going the tougher road, because it always blesses you in some way, shape, or form. Where if you take the lower road, now you're in a deficit position. You're always worse off than you were before. So always take the high road. Always. You'll never regret taking the higher road. And I remember that now, because that skater, you know, that said that to me, we've remained friends all these years. I've hired him to do shows. That was passive aggression, by the way. But you know, it's just that. It's like, you know, whether you're bullied or whether you're insulted or whatever that is, you know, it should be fuel for the fire. It shouldn't be something that is debilitating. It should be fuel. Take the high road.
From a beer getting small town loser to a national and international consummate winner. Scott, thank you again for doing this with us. We really, really appreciate it. What Nick and I do is we always give our guests the last word. So you touched on some of the stuff you did for cancer briefly before, but if there's anything else you would like to share or promote on your own, now is the time to do so. We are so appreciative of your time. Amazing interview. We wish you the best moving forward. Thank you again for your time. And if there's anything else you would like to say, by all
Sure.
means, go ahead.
Well, I always tell people, that's gone through cancer, I always tell them, you really know when you've survived when you get mad in traffic, because you're back to sweating the small stuff, right? You're back to sweating. And it seems like I'm looking around our culture, and everybody sweats everything. It's like we're knee jerk. We get canceled. We get this. We get that. We get criticized. We get labeled. We get all these things, and it's like we don't need to. We can just love each other, right? And that's the one thing I've learned, throughout my studying my faith and being in the Word. It's just like that's the essence of it all. How do you change the world forever and for the better? You love the person standing directly in front of you, whether they deserve it or not. You just love them, right? You just love them. So I really would love to, if anybody listening to this, if they're really struggling right now, and if they're really unhappy, and if they're really rooted in sadness or depression or anger, just take a step back. And, if you lead with love, and if you don't allow, the small stuff that, to impede your joy, and it's just not the way we're supposed to be. And we're supposed to be really in there working it out, working together, working, toward a greater good. And it just feels to me right now that, whether it's a product that has divided us, or it's intentional, or if it's just a strategy, or whatever is blowing us up and really just allowing us to just, I just see a lot of people suffering, and they don't need to. And I want to, if anybody doesn't get anything else out of this interview besides the fact that you can rise above your circumstances and really experience and participate in cool things, it starts with a positive choice and the climb. You just got to get to work. And nostalgia is expensive. We're looking forward now, and that's it. It's pep talk, right? People are better than this, and we're all in this together, and we lead with love, and if we do that, it changes everything. And so I would highly recommend that.
Very well said there, Scott. So that's going to do it here for this episode of You Know I'm Right. Very special thank you to our inspirational guest, Scott Hamilton. For my co-host, Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.